Back in 2005, Aftermath, Shady, and Interscope dropped some absolute fire that really shook up the music business. One of these albums was Eminem's curtain call, The Hits, hitting the shelves around December 6 and storming to the top of the Billboard 200 right out of the gate. It sold about 450,000 copies in the first week, and by 2020, it had gone 7 times platinum, selling over 7 million copies in the US alone. Another album that dropped in that year was 50 Cent's The Massacre, coming out around March 3rd, selling over 1 million copies in just 4 days. By the end of the year, it was certified 5 times platinum. Not bad. Additionally, The Game dropped a documentary around January 18th, which sold almost 600,000 copies in the first week and debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. By November, it had sold about 2.5 million copies in the US, and to a lot of Game fans, this album is considered a classic. Around this time period, people were still hyped up for Dr. Dre's Detox. It was an album that everyone was waiting for, but it seems like it was always out of reach. The saga began around 2002, after Dre's smash hit 2001 and the rise of his Aftermath Entertainment label.
It's still Dre Day, AK.
Dr. Dre announced Detox as his final album and had big plans for it, telling a story through the eyes of a hitman named Detox. For over a decade, Dre worked with big names like Eminem, 50 Cent, Busta Rhymes, Kendrick Lamar, T.I., Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, and Mary J. Blige. But the album kept getting pushed back, leaving everyone wondering if it would ever drop. To spice things up even more, Dre brought in a young, fresh talent from Canada, Drake. At the tender age of 19 years old, Drake and his buddy Noah 40 Shabib were flown out to LA to work with Dr. Dre. It was tough work, but it paid really well. Drake called the experience some of the most strenuous militant shit I've ever done, which gives you an idea of how intense it was. Unfortunately, none of the stuff Drake wrote made it to the album, and Drake didn't seem too surprised. He said the following: "When I think of how he worked us, it's no wonder he didn't get anything out of it. It was just writers in a room churning out product all day long." After Drake missed some studio time, Dre sent him packing. Even though it was a tough pill to swallow, it taught Drake a big lesson about dedication and sticking to your schedule. Even though Drake put in all that work for Dre, it seems like it went unnoticed. At the time, Dre paid Drake about $10,000 for his work, and Drake considers this the first paycheck he received from hip-hop. When Drake got the money, he was ready to celebrate. He called up his girl, booked a hotel, and assumed there would be more money coming his way. However, his work eventually went unnoticed.
Dre gave me, he brought me into his office. He's like, "Man, you're doing really good work." And he gave me a $10,000 check. And I still have that. Actually, when Dre came out at the forum, I brought him the $10,000 check because I had saved the actual hard copy of it, even though I got the money for it.
Yeah. But hey, he wasn't the only one. Take Bishop Lamont, for example. After 4 or 5 years with Aftermath Entertainment, Bishop Lamont called it quits around 2010. The guy recorded over 700 songs during his time there. Talk about dedication. The sad part is, during his time with Dr. Dre, none of these tracks saw the light of day.
700 songs later.
What's a real number?
What do you mean, 700 songs?
700 songs?
When I left the label, my hard drives, I had over 700 songs.
Oh my
Get the
gosh.
here.
That's how much
Damn.
you work. Remember, you were there, nigga.
I know.
Can-Am, I only wanted to work in Studio B because that's where Pac worked on all his shit. So that energy was in there, and I know this nigga do 1 billion songs a day.
Right.
So at that time,
2-3 double albums.
Right.
After.
put the ad-libs on later. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And, you know, whatever he did. That was a way that I had to keep writing. So I just got into the mentality of I have to stay in the studio. So all I would do was just record, send songs to Dre, yes, no. Okay, that's cool, but you gotta change this hook. Like, you know, you'd be working on the same song and have to try 8-9 different ways of creating a hook.
At the time, Dr. Dre was laser focused on making his Detox album perfect, that everything else got pushed to the side. Dr. Dre is known as a perfectionist, and that meant a whole lot of delays for his own project, which in turn messed up release schedules, for other artists on the label. With Detox taking center stage, guys like Bishop Lamont were left twiddling their thumbs, waiting for their own music to drop. As a result, guys like Bishop Lamont were stuck in limbo, while Dre was trying to create the perfect album. Then there was Busta Rhymes. When Busta Rhymes joined Aftermath, he was very used to making music on his own and cranking them out at the speed of light. But when he began working with Dre, he found out the hard way that Dre likes to take his time. Busta ended up having to re-record lines and verses over and over, which slowed down his album release. Over time, the hype around Detox fizzled out and people kinda gave up hope on the album ever dropping. Then Dre had an epiphany. He would drop a different album, Compton, instead.
Nothing I can do but pack it all up. I'm gone up.
Compton was an interesting project that tied in with the movie of the same name. Personally, I liked the album, but it was kinda obvious that Drake had left his mark on a few tracks, especially the ones featuring Justice, who sounds a lot like Drake. If you pay attention to Justice's earlier work, you can clearly tell that this man was trying to sound like Drake. So it's almost like Dre signed him knowing that he was going to use Drake's influence with or without Drake. Then there's Kendrick Lamar, who used the album as a platform to take shots at Drake. On the track Dark Side/Gone and Deep Water, Kendrick dropped lines that were clearly aimed at Drake. Kendrick raps, "But I still got enemies giving me energy, I wanna fight now," subliminally sent to me all of this hate, which is obviously a nod to Drake's track Energy. And on Deep Water, Kendrick raps, "No, I started from the bottom," along with mentions of the Six, both clear references to Drake's Started from the Bottom and his nickname Sex God. This wasn't the first time that Kendrick went at Drake, and it definitely was not the last. They have been trading blows for years. But that's a story for another day. Fast forward to around 2016, and Drake and Dre crossed paths once again. Around 2016, during Drake's Summer 16 tour in LA, out of nowhere, Dre shows up on stage. The crowd went wild.
I had to call in the most important favor of my life so that we could stay here and we could party tonight on the motherfucking West Coast. So please, I don't even have to say anything else. Go ahead.
But it wasn't just a big deal for fans. It was a full circle moment for Drake too, considering he used to write songs for Dre and the long-awaited Detox album. Drake's respect for Dre was clear as day. He introduced Dr. Dre as the first person who'd ever paid him for making music. It was a nod to their shared history, a testament to Drake's journey from a young songwriter to a global superstar.
I gotta let you know, this man right here was the first person to ever give me a paycheck to make music right here. This man really, in some way, shape, or form, is responsible for everything that goes on in rap music today, whether it's then, whether it's now. This is one of the most important figures in the world, a mentor to me, an inspiration to me, and a legend on the West Coast. I want you to make some noise for Dr. Dre right now.
Then around 2023, Detox leaks were all over the media, but not just any Detox leaks. These were tracks Drake made for Dr. Dre when he was just a youngin'. When these tracks came out, Drake's songwriting prowess was put on display with several of his demos. The big leak happened around May of 2023, with 5 demos hitting the web. Among them was a song called Tell Me, which Drake had written for Detox. The track is super soulful and feels like it could have fit into one of Drake's projects. I'm talking Comeback Season or So Far Gone.
Sometimes words just won't do it. Body language I'm speaking, I heard so fluent.
The track wasn't very gangster, which is what Dr. Dre is known for, but I must admit Drake did his thing on the track. The leaks also included an alternate version of Jaded featuring Ty Dolla $ign and a song called Concentrate, which had a chorus from Drake.
All I gotta do is put my mind to the shit. I like all my S's with 2 lines through them shits.
The lyrics from Concentrate ended up being used by Fetty Wap's My Way. The last 2 tracks, Overdrive and Child's Play, had been leaked before, but these versions had some extra vocals and changes to the production. When these leaks came out, they provided insight to how talented Drake is as a songwriter. Despite his past issues with Quentin Miller and using ghostwriters, these leaked tracks show that Drake can write some seriously good music, and that Drake can put himself in the shoes of the artist he's writing for. When you look at Drake's career today, it's clear that he's bigger than ever. Every song he releases, every feature he's a part of, it's like he's got the Midas touch. Everything turns to gold. It makes you wonder, if those reference tracks he wrote for Dr. Dre came out back in the day, would they have been smash hits too? I mean, sure, Drake was just starting out when he wrote these tracks, but you can't deny they've got a certain vibe. They're catchy, they're cool, they're Drake. And to be honest, in terms of music, Drake's the bigger name right now. But when it comes to business, Dr. Dre's got him beat. At the end of the day, both Drake and Dr. Dre are still killing it. Drake recently dropped an album with 21 Savage. And as for Dr. Dre's long-awaited album, Detox, well, it seems like it might never drop. And honestly, most of us have moved on from it. We're not waiting anymore. I know I'm not. That's it for me, it's your boy Ali. What do you think about the time Dr. Dre fired Drake? Let me know down below. Also add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. Till next time, peace.